Now it's recording.
Now it's recording.
Okay. Back.
The second chat.
You're back.
Wait, what are they? Because the first one is one.
The first one is called one, but I mean I will edit.
I kind of like it like that.
Yeah, one.
This is two.
This is two. Yeah, this is me. Like this is the amount of energy that I can put on that.
It's crazy, no? Like every time. I mean, I'm not saying that I do crazy stuff, but it's also like keep doing this is like a lot of work.
It's a practice in itself, of course.
Yeah. But I found that I'm more confident.
I mean, more and more that I work and also doing applications and stuff like with like dance and technology specifically. One of the main topics is documentation, like because nobody knows how to deal with archiving and
that's the meeting I had today. Actually.
Yeah, that's why you were mentioning something like that.
Yeah.
And so this is something that is like is obvious because the technology is moving, everything is moving. So how to optimize these things?
Yeah.
And also not only how to optimize, because that's the really capitalist approach to do this thing, right?
True.
Like optimization.
Yeah.
So maybe on that topic, I was thinking that I found this very intriguing to me. Like you were doing some jokes, remarks on this. Like when I met Naoto, I guess I wanted to. I mean, I guess to work with technology and stuff like that, and it seems to me that so now working with virtual reality, and Naoto now is sewing socks. I think it's very interesting, like how are we in the place that we are.
Yeah.
I mean, being you an engineer coming, so it's interesting.
This is from yesterday.
Well, I was a bit reflecting on that because you make a comment that's important.
Oops. Because I wanted to go to the office. Sorry for this. I think we can. Well, let's see how it goes.
Which office?
For the payment. Because tomorrow we're going to be cooking, and then the day after I will be leaving. So.
But it is fine because we are just next to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So at some point, we can.
That's a good reminder. Because otherwise I would have been forgotten. I mean, tomorrow I can do it too.
Yeah.
So no rush, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, this. I don't know why I started doing it. I was just interested, but also like. I mean, actually, this is related to like my next project or the ongoing project right now. That. Like kind of like. It's not speculating or projecting, but it's about future. Because in the other work I did, so last summer is very northern hemisphere way of saying.
Yeah.
Like around July, August. Yeah, I got funding thanks to Pact, and whatever. So basically, I could do whatever, but I decided to make a website. Of course I forgot the cards. I have it upstairs, but that was around the time I was going to Colombia. I mean, actually, like it was kind of overlapping. And basically, I collected memories. And in the end, like I collected memories, and that's on the website. But also, I made cards out of that, like printed ones. First, I cut by hand, and then the next iteration, I ordered online, so it's really nicely done. So I had the same opportunity this year. I mean, I'm having it right now, and I just said like, okay, so I did the past in the previous month, so I do the future. And then.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
It was a really simple idea, actually.
Yeah, I get it. So like now you're gonna speculate.
But this is the thing. Like I don't want to like kind of speculate or like project. Like it's not like something that I want to like find like a pathway to something specific, but I want to like find like different options like where it can go.
Okay.
Like that's just, I mean, it's just a wording, but the way of thinking, I think it's, for me it's interesting because now everyone's talking about like speculative whatever, but then that's actually kind of like, well, I guess there are different ways, different approaches, but for me, like, you know, it's kind of like finding a truth kind of idea that I just have a feeling from the word, like that something specific will happen, or at least like you're, you know, it's not like something multiplied, but like monolithic future that's hanging somewhere. Instead, I'm trying to think like what can be like done, like for now, like what I'm doing, what can I repeat, what could become like, you know, part of my future. So it's more like multiplied. And for example, this is like one example because then I do it, I can redo it, and I can wear it again. So it's kind of like, well, not projecting, but like repeating towards kind of, you know, one of the features that is an option. So
an option where you don't want to have the holes in the socks.
because then it's gonna just become bigger and bigger. That can be one way, you know, just like, okay, I'm just gonna like wear this socks with hole and this becomes bigger and bigger. But that's like one of the things, like I want to think, you know, like what can, you know, grow from now. But like this is what I chose to, you know, repair them, but also you can. But that's the interesting part, right? You can like start to like, you know, find what are the options from here. Like this is what I chose, but you can decide to wear it with holes, and then that's also okay. And but I think that's kind of like what I'm interested in, a way of like futurism.
But I think like maybe bring this back to the, I guess what I was proposing and what I said before was like making this remark on, I find fascinating how material is your work these days and how abstract is becoming my work. Also more when since like I start like trying to take that path that is also through complexity sciences and things like that, the level of abstraction is really, it's very different, and I just find fascinating, like that it's just naturally like how we're doing, and Danae should do a documentary about it. We should contact Danae, like, but I think now she's a UX senior at some company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it.
Then
she's a user experience senior at some company.
Good for her.
Yeah, but also I don't think it's like it seems like an interesting job. Like the company is not, I don't know, Facebook or something like that.
Well, that could be also interesting.
Yeah.
Like a startup or.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really click just like what they should say about the company.
Research.
It seems more like a speculative. Speculative approach
towards the singularity.
Yeah.
Not against it, I'm just proposing what I do. So, yeah, but I also like come back to like what she was doing, because that's super interesting, you know, like just like watching hours of, you know, well, hundreds of hours of documentation, I mean, you know, video material, and basically making sense of that.
Yeah.
And that's like also part of something I want to do during this, like thinking about future. Like, so basically I did a performance in Colombia, and that, you haven't seen it, right? The last one.
No.
That I did, like, I spoke in Spanish for like 45-50 minutes, and that's about the past, basically. Like, kind of like, I drew like ideas, like memories from the other project I did, like, you know, like where I lived in, you know, what inspired what in the, you know, for example, I did martial art in Japan, and then I started in contact improvisation, and like this kind of like loose connections from memory. But then, like, if I think about what Danae was doing, then that's also like, you know, I could think about like connecting that towards future, not just like analyzing what happened, but like, okay, so like what's the pattern and where it's going,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah, I mean, there is something that, I mean, like, how to say this, like, I'll try to do my best to explain myself, because I don't even understand. So wait, it's like, I think, I see some similarity also in the way how Eva, my girlfriend, Eva will never see this, I think. I don't think she's very interested in what we do. Or I don't know, anyway. So, but she has like this natural talent for like, she's very practical. She's very pragmatic. She's very practical. And quotation, I mean, so like, she don't like also that much somehow. Like, when I'm trying to make this remark as something that I really admire from the designer point of view, she's just like, boom. While I'm just getting lost, it taking so long to answer an email, like, you know, my workflow, I get really lost in my thoughts. So that's something that I really admire, that she just comes naturally into this. And I see some relations, some connections with, but also the way how you work. That are different practices that are complementary. You know, like one practice is like, in a way, opening frameworks, like to question things, or like more open things. And the other practice also is like close to information design. In information design deals with that, the design of information, how you structure information for certain purposes.
Okay, like for example,
like you have to do planning. You have to plan for 2 years. That's then you structure the information in a way that is understandable. Without, I mean, then you're not writing using words, but use more like visual elements. So a timeline, for instance, and then what you saw in the place that you were in my room. There was this the poster that you saw, horizontal. That's information design.
Okay.
Then you show like linear what happened visually, and you have this. So that demands some levels of abstraction. That can go. The more you do, the more complex become, because you have to take decisions and cut stuff out.
Right.
Like, yeah, and that's something that it is in constant negotiation with. So what I'm saying is basically this idea, like you need open-ended frameworks in design. Actually, that's why I'm happy that you saw that poster, because the main idea of that poster, it has 2 diamonds, like one diamond, other diamond. Like there is this classical approach to design. Well, I don't know if it's classical or not. I think it's not classical. It's about a framework called design thinking. That is, you create a phase of ideation, or when you brainstorming, and then you start converging. And then it's called double diamond, because you just need 2 times this process to start converging and prototyping, and then you do it again. Then you work in something that are called sprints, which are quite standard things to make fast prototyping of good products, where has this focus on human-centered design that I think nowadays is very questioned because of the world. Like all these design methodologies that are pointing to human-centered design. So the anthropocentrism, and now we are more in a paradigm shift with ecocentrism or other isms, or the human being in the center and everything in the center as human is being questioned.
I see. So, wait, why are you doing this approach? No.
I think what I was trying to mention was that these things were come hand by hand.
Right.
Like you to do open-ended frameworks, and you need to use this approach to information design or into structure. I mean, in academia, at least in complex design, that goes through this course that is called modeling systems.
Okay.
Like in computer science, they go through modeling systems or the study of complex systems, which deals with things that are not linear. Like, and we saw that with Gabriel. Like normally, anything that is not chaotic can be measured in a linear way, and it has a time and a line that goes somewhere. So you can foresee. That's linear, but then anything that cannot get into that category of linearity is considered as novel or new, and then therefore as complex. In short, like not from the philosophical point of view, but from the mathematical point of view, and it is always in constant negotiation within the specific factors that happen at that moment. So they put examples, very simple examples like a population, a kitchen, like really human things, like that you cannot measure how to be more effective at the kitchen, like you cannot. That's a complex system. That's what I'm trying to say. But why we were saying this? Systemic modeling. That systemic modeling. That is all this informed. So you have open-ended frameworks, like say in a way art, philosophy, and then you have on the other hand you have reductionism approaches, which is interesting because like now all these things about complex designs, although it's still within sciences, right? Like so fundamental sciences, so physics, chemics, they are open, but let's not get lost into this discourse of the these things have to go now hand by hand, and it's interesting. It's interesting. I was thinking a bit of some reflection that I have like before dinner with some of this, with some guys. We were talking yesterday, and somebody was mentioning this idea of, we were talking about queer frameworks and things like this, and then somebody was mentioning trying to clarify some concepts of queer. What are these things? What is not also, and then what she was mentioning, this idea of allies, to have allies, and that's something that it stays in my head. Also in regards to what Marlon was saying, I mean, it's just in regard to supporting other ones. So yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like something I found very difficult to articulate. Like, I think at one point we were saying like, you know, like what we do, let's say is queer, and well, das is a big word, but das, it doesn't have to be functional. We said something like that, and then I don't know if it was IDOT or something, and then someone asked us, maybe it was here, like
No, it was IDOT. Somebody was asking.
yeah, like
why queer?
but no, like, it was a specific comment that do you mean queer is not functional, and then I was like thinking, yeah okay,
that was IDOT. Yes.
that was really like a big statement. If we say, you know, it doesn't have to be functional, we have to like frame it like in a better way. For example, also like I always question like what we do is try to soften or like to make something soft, but is it actually soft? You know, like.
Oh, perhaps it's. Yeah.
But also like, you know, it can have different textures. You know, it can be hard or it can be soft. And then these like. We can't go something like, as I said before, like it's not something, you know, singular. It's not something that.
No.
That's like something difficult to articulate, because what we're trying to say is like this kind of like multiplicity, like.
But then I think we have to be very careful, and this especially like within Western context and academia, to not have to justify oneself. This is very. I mean, this is something that I started seeing in academia. I mean, Marlon was sharing also this like. So it's difficult what is that line when you basically are compromising yourself in order to say institutions and frameworks like institutions in different ways. They have this solidity, they're really solid. And then through queerness of open-ended frameworks, you try to make things more liquid. That's an analogy that I use. Try to make more liquid, more fluid, like something that is solid. So working towards choreographic strategies that allow for fluidity of solid spaces. If not possible, then a practice that aims for that possibility. In that sense, I mean, I put it like, I'm saying these words also because we use these words in the practice, it's just in the practice that becomes real, like, even if so for some few seconds or whatever, right? Which is a gesture. It's a gesture that creates possibility for other things to transverse. Which I found that word very relevant, and in Spanish somebody was explaining to me, and that I was surprised in Documenta.
Okay.
Transversar, but he was saying like, no, I don't even dare to speak because too much about that. But I was surprised the way how she was speaking about it in this space of a party office. There was this Mexican character, and then she was telling me that she came out just 2 years ago, and that changed completely her life. And her life right now, I mean, back in there in Documenta was that. Her artistic work was her life. And she was coming from a high class in Mexico, privileged place that you should have seen in Colombia, the difference between those who have education and the access to those resources and those who have no resources. So that makes a huge imbalance that is difficult to embody, because it's not about a rational thing, it's to feel how to imagine, how to write about poverty or things like that. And I remember some time ago I was having this discussion with Annalena. I love Annalena very much, and she has this heart. She's a lovely human being. She's actively trying to do things that I'm not, for instance. Like she's political in her doing and so on. And then she was speaking at some point, and we got into some kind of discussion about these topics of I mean, I guess in short she was saying some things about poverty, and for me it was a bit touching. Also, we were drunk. So, but then I just said to her that I don't dare to speak about that because I don't know what is that. But then I feel for me like a bit more. There is taking too much appropriation to go into start speaking with such a confidence about poverty.
Yeah, I mean, this is like intersectionality, right? It's like, I mean, you're from Colombia doesn't mean that you can talk about poverty in Colombia. I mean, you can talk about it, but you don't represent it, or like, I mean, no one represents. I mean, these words are really hard. But yeah, like, or like, I cannot talk about Japanese woman because I'm biologically male. But I can talk about my experience as a Japanese biologically male person.
Right.
And that's something like I found interesting. Like you said, like something that you know, like it's not rational, but you feel. And then when I did performance, like final performance in Colombia, it's not gonna be the last one. But like so, basically, it was about my life. You know, where I was born, where I studied, and then I came to Colombia. And then yeah, like also the life. 4 months in Bogota, and then I went to Santa Marta and Sierra Nevada, and then I met indigenous people, and I just showed what I embody from experience there. I don't want to go into details too much because then I have to start doing performance, but that would be actually funny. And then what was interesting is like nobody really said anything about the content, like after the performance.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Like everyone was like really like I got like positive comments. Like although like I was at one point making fun of like Colombia, but also like that I make fun of myself. Like someone also said like I went to Colombia to exoticize myself, which was a really funny remark because I was framing that as El Chino Loco. Like I said I'm Chinese, which is not. But people would say that if they don't know where I'm from.
So as a generality,
yeah. So, but that I felt is interesting because if I do the performance, something like that, then like here, then people start talking about politics. About like to make it rational. Actually, there was one. Like some people from Germany watched the performance, and they're more talking about the content itself, which I found interesting. Like how different, like how people perceive.
But then for you, it was more interesting that then the space, as if I understand correctly, that you found more interesting that the comments from people from Germany were like more in point of content, and then you could enter to some. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it depends on the content because that was about my life. I don't want anyone to criticize about my life, so it's good if people don't talk about it. Actually, I mean, also that's why people maybe like didn't talk about it because it's my life. I don't have anything that they would say, okay, you shouldn't have been there or anything like that. Well, not that German guy said that, but yeah. So kind of like I found it interesting. I never thought like I would do something political, and it was not political, but also like kind of like carries.
But it is like I mean, this is the kind of thing like when, for instance, like with Annalena, we have this really argument, like this really hot discussion of she's, as I said, she's actively doing things politically, so she will go walk and do these things. Like myself, I don't subscribe to these things. I don't do it.
Like demonstration.
But also like her work is political. Like we have a friend of ours that is Dance Divine, Diana. She's somebody. I think through her, like I always said, like that I discovered that I identify myself as non-binary. And when we met the first time in Brussels, we had this discussion. Like I was working on my final project, so I was writing the best practices. So all this theory was in my head, right? So I have this fixed idea that we use sometimes, that best moment, of the best, the potentiality of the art, of the painting in the museum is in the bucket, right?
The paint, yeah.
But
Bucket of the paint. Okay, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, but anyway, it's like referring to this idea of the whatever art, in the sense of an art that is not political, it's just an image that that is an interface more for the person to start doing something with it, rather than taking some position, like propaganda or aesthetics, formality, normativity, or no, but more like an interface, like a door for X things to happen. And so, yeah, so this was what I said to them. So I'm not politically engaged, because then it's up to the person how to engage and do their own processing. So this active spectatorship, basically, right? It's not entertainment, but it's something that it demands the person to engage with the art piece, or to leave and also not engage, and it's fine. But it demands a decision for the person. So, but of course, like, then we're going back, like, just to the persona, who you are, like, you know, because we were there talking, is I'm conscious, and I'm getting more conscious of my decisions in the way how I dress up, how I make up, when in the place that I am, is giving me more certainty of the persona that I am. So, but it's not because I'm trying to, I mean, I guess unconsciously, because a person is political. Like, you have a body. You have a body, your body is political. But it's different, that I guess maybe that could be, I don't know, this is an assumption now, following this thread, that perhaps because she's coming from Switzerland, maybe questioning her own privilege, she wants to help other ones that she feels they struggle, right? So it's coming from this really good place. It's not because she wants to be an asshole, like, but the way so.
I know her so.
But so she's then engaged with these things that I cannot know what she's experiencing. It's just I cannot take her position of doing what she does. But I recognize also that we come from different places. And that doesn't make us better or wrong, but it just means that we are from very different places. And just lately, not too long ago, I started reflecting that you need to find allies, and, or like, for instance, she's my family, like in that sense, like in terms of gender, she's my sister, and we need allies especially. In this, in context, I think we need allies.
Yeah, like, close to what you said, just explain about her, like, I felt like similar in a way, like, for example, like the final showing I did in Bogota is like the money from the school I'm in Germany, from KHM, and like each student gets some budget, so we can spend it for certain things, not everything, but like you can get a jacket and stuff. This costed like 200 euro at the airport. No, what I want to say is, like, then I didn't really like plan to like go. Well, I planned to go to Colombia, but then I didn't really plan to do a performance in the end. But I just budgeted in, like, okay, I'm gonna rent the theater. But I was a bit skeptical. I just wanted to fill in some numbers, so I just put there. But in the end, like, I was like, okay, I really need to find a space. I'm going to do a festival, an Autos festival, and invite students from my maestria, and invite people, do something nice, which was like not in a way, like, I didn't really start from the idea that, okay, I have money, so I want to use it for people in Colombia. But in the end, it became like that, and it really, I don't know, like, looking back, like, what happened, I'm really happy like how I used my money. I mean, of course, I use it for myself as well. But then going there and like spending money from Germany to rent a space and pay people like for food and then doing something like a action, which is like I found it's really nice. Like it's not about like if I did something good or bad, but it's just like I was really surprised like how it kind of concluded like this project.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like also part of like my life in a way. Like it's just like another life event. It's not like, okay, I want to support these people and I go there and do something, but it's just like something happened and then, okay, they're friends, I do this. And also like, for like one visitor, like I was doing the nail salon as well like, during the festival, and one visitor, like she was doing some like handcraft stuff, so she couldn't really paint, I couldn't paint her nails. But she recognized the brand of the one I had, and she knew that they don't ship, they're based in the US, Holotaco, and they're famous on YouTube, so she knows it, but they don't ship to Colombia, so she couldn't get it. And anyways, like super expensive. And I had some because that's also like from the budget from the school, so I had some, like a bunch of them. So I gave it to her, and yeah, she was really happy, and I was also really happy that I could, kind of like, yeah, like just take the, institution, well, not softening that particular institution, but, take advantage, like take advantage of my privilege, like basically, and not like throwing away, like, okay, I should be poor to feel I'm poor, but like, if I have privilege, just use it, and then if someone benefits from that, then that's perfect, and that's what I really felt from this whole festival thing.
Yeah, maybe going back to this idea of scarcity and sharing resources, connecting with this. Like say like art and tech, like dance and technology. That is like, it's almost like a joke to speak about dance and technology. So like let's say more like art and technology. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say with it, but yes. I mean,
But
in a sense, I mean, the framing is different, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. That how to find, I mean, it's like, and I don't know why it's like that, in art in general also like that, I don't know, like this thing of just I keep my contacts, I keep like this thing of not sharing the resources. And that's what I mentioned in scarcity, because maybe, so it's not in the sense that, oh, I'm poor, I live in Hamburg, I'm poor. It's like, no, but it's in terms of like scarcity, that there is not so many resources, or at least there is not, the idea is that there is not so much. I'm just guessing, no, then people are not sharing the possibilities, because it is about possibilities. Because it means that if you share the possibility, intrinsically you also are reducing your chances to get that possibility. And I think that should come from a traumatic space of scarcity.
I have a slightly different take. I mean, maybe I would like kind of more like focus in, let's say, open source. It's a lot of work to share. Like it's not like you just make something for yourself and you put it online. Okay, that's already some work. You just have to set up the GitHub account, for example, I mean GitHub repository, and you put it there. That's like first step, right? That's okay, that's not so bad. But then like if you want to like, actually share the knowledge, you need documentation, you need to actively develop something. It's a lot. Like that will take over the whole process.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that.
But I
Like,
think it's the same because like if you want
How?
to share, because then you can't just like put it out. You need to really like, you know, if you want to do workshop, then you need to prepare material.
No. I think I'm talking just like with this, like just simply like places where you find, you know, just these like open call, these things that it seems, how to say this. I'm just reflecting, like for instance, that. So I'm working with art and technology since 2018, more or less, and then I guess really like more with some professional opportunities from 2019, I guess, and I remember how like I'm still always trying to find opportunities. So now I receive these things, and then I'm thinking also. It makes me question also. Then reflecting to the conversation with Marlon. I mean, I don't have an answer. It's just like, it's more like why it's like that. Why we have to keep these things some kind of like, no, I don't.
So it's like, for example, like I see something online and I don't tell you about it because we can be competitor. Is that like what you?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
like that's a short idea.
Yeah. I mean, also like that. I think it happens in different levels. But for example, you said about Marlon, but like he has this platform, right?
But Marlon has this platform.
Yeah, platform where he shares. But that's again like what come back to like what I said. Like it's a lot of work to. Because also he has to curate and he has to, you know, put it out. So that's like ultimate, you know, like dedication to like sharing. But also like it can happen in like a micro level. Like I see something and I send it to you.
Yeah.
For example.
But then I guess like I think there are two different things that we're speaking. Like one is more like that I completely so that I'm pro this, and I guess most of the people who are close to me also. Working towards open source in different ways, or even just supporting the idea of open source, right? Seed is one of them. Angelo is super in this, although there is many contradictions, but just like the idea of supporting open, free flow of knowledge, digital knowledge. So there's one thing, there's advocacy in this, and then the other one is then. And that's the thing, that's what I was trying to say, that I cannot find, I guess, like, way to express myself. Then how, because it's not easy, I mean, how to build networks, basically, institutions, infrastructure. This is going back to the symposium of digital creation, digital transformation, I think it was called, in Amsterdam.
Conservation.
Digital conservation in Lima. That happened just the last weekend. The Dragon was speaking about, like, and I really like that comment, like, since things, I guess, I think maybe he was going close to this, maybe not answer, but it's like more suggestion, like, since these networks, and since there is this scarcity that I will question also, here, let's say here, in Europe, since there is a scarcity in digital art, then how to basically then just you work towards you. I like that he was putting this you create your own institution, and even just as a gesture, where in that category I will put your festival. You know, when you say like now Autos Festival. That's a gesture towards creating an institution, and it's basically just offering possibilities for things to transverse and circumvent spaces and people and culture, for good or wrong. So then again, bringing back this, like trying to make it concrete, is I guess it's more like screaming in the air, I guess, like just trying to reflect it, to work towards network, like to try to work towards, I guess, this spirit of open source, or like trying to share. I don't like that word anymore. To that, I think that's why I think I started speaking about allies, because since this that I'm speaking is becoming more and more abstract, like if you start speaking about sharing and other things, then the easiest way how I think one can understand this is like if you think in your family or like somebody close, you just share different resources, and this is just what it is, the family. Then there are allies. I mean, I will see them as allies in like not the bloodline, but as a. Did you understand what I'm saying with this?
I think so, but that's like kind of given.
No.
If it's a family.
No, but that's what I'm trying. Like, just use it as like you. Yeah.
But then it's not a good example.
But do you understand what I'm saying then?
I mean, I don't know, like but I have some remarks. I don't have to remark. What's interesting? I mean, the network and ally. These ideas, like I was, like a couple of years ago, I was really active in processing in Japan, and I was basically making platform or like network. I was running it. It was a lot of work, and I guess like that's like a fraction of what Martin has been doing. But then like I know that it's a lot of work, and like this, I don't like the word utopian. Like optimistic idea would be like to have something that runs by itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like someone
Like
has
Puff.
to run it.
Like Puff.
But some people have to run it.
But it's like, this is incredible. Like what happens here, I haven't seen in other places. Like the way how they. I remember when Jam, when there was these things, like the place where we are, like it has this fluidity within constraints of it's solid. It has a house, it's solid, but it is fluid in the way how like things passes, and yeah, I think it's a good example of. There's one that I can speak about. Like you can really see how like say power structures, they are available somehow. If you just are from the moment you arrive in the place, they're like it's not so hard to find like, how to reach power structure. Like if you compare like before, let's say, I mean, and even though like when Jan was the owner, also like his idea, I mean, he made this place, so his idea was altruist. He was very generous, right? So then was.
But then, like, sorry, I had. So what I wanted to make is a comparison like that with that, and the other one that is like a festival I did, which is not a network. It's not a community, but like
it's a happening.
It's a happening. Yeah. Like it's also like related to there's a Martin's the podcast thingy, and that's to me that was easy because then I just do it and that's it.
Yeah.
But also like it's yielding, it's it gives potentiality to something to happen, which I found like for me it's easier because then I'm I can't keep doing things for like years and years and years.
Right. No, I can like right.
I just do it festival. It's in Colombia. It's in Japan. Just do it.
Yeah.
It's also benefiting from the existing network I have, but still like I don't have to run that network, which I found is interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get your point. Yeah, I get your point. Yeah.
And then we have to do our festival.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's gonna be different, like that's the nice beauty of it. That's the beauty of it, that I did my festival and we do our festival, and it doesn't have to do anything between them because it's a different structure and it's temporary, or we can do it again and again if you like. But it's like kind of like this. It's not ecosystem. How to say? Like kind of it's like creature in itself.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, maybe we can close with this.
Yeah. I guess this we can go on and on and on.
Yes.
That's the problem.
To go back to work.
Yeah. Okay. subscribe,
Thanks.
whatever.
Peace.
And come to Puff.
Come to pass.